Manipur, where the Indian Army has revealed a nefarious plot by insurgents to use innocent people, including women and children, as human shields to attack and cause destruction in violence-hit Manipur. The Indian Army revealed intercepts of transcripts of plans by insurgents to use human shields while attacking villages and security forces. The tweet talks about the plan of insurgents to use innocent civilians as human shields and prevent the security forces from performing their duties. Meanwhile, Chief Minister Biren Singh on Sunday said nearly 40 armed terrorists involved in torching houses and firing at civilians have been killed by security forces since an operation was launched to restore peace in the northeastern state. Today, Union Home Minister Amit Shah will begin his tour of Manipur, during which he will be holding several rounds of meetings to assess the situation and plan steps to restore normalcy. Joining me on the broadcast is Dr. Loro. He is a Lok Sabha MP of from the NPF and he is also the MP from Outer Manipur. Dr. Loro, thank you so much for speaking to NewsX. You recently put out an appeal for peace and calm in Manipur, sir. If you can, through our channel, send out your message to the people. Dr. Loro, can you hear me?
Yeah, I was not able to hear your last part.
Yes, sir. So
now I can hear you.
Yes, thank you for speaking to NewsX, sir. I'm saying that you've put out an appeal.
Thank you.
Online for calm and peace in Manipur. If through our channel you can send out a clear message, what is it that your expectation from the people of Manipur is at this point?
Yes, thank you so much, Indian News. In fact, Manipur has been such a beautiful place, a calm place that has come, a sense of peace had come into Manipur during the last 6 years of the BJP-led government in Manipur. Since the coming of the NDA, I think there has been a sense of development, a sense of peace and calm that has come. But suddenly, about 3 weeks before, certain things happened, and now today violence came in and it has become out of control. It is so painful. It has grieved the hearts of many, many. In fact, the world over, they're looking at Manipur. They had thought that this would be a destination for development and that it will open up to the Southeast Asian countries. But today, because of whatever has happened, I think it is very, very sad. Now, the sense of security, the sense of peace has almost disappeared. And it is the loss of trust on the government today that is there today. I think government should have been a little more sensitive. I think there has been sufficient warnings, and then I think there has been a lot of intelligence input. But as our Honorable Chief Minister did say himself, acknowledged that there has been some failures on that front. However, when the actual violence started, I think they should have taken the appropriate steps. Yeah, I think it started as a small spark, and then slowly it spread over to the whole state. In fact, out of the 16 states, 11 districts have been affected, more so in the 5 or 6 districts adjoining the Imphal Valley. We are very, very sorry that such a thing would happen, but we want to appeal to our people, particularly from the Meitei community who dwell in the Imphal Valley, and also the Kuki community or the tribal communities who live in the hill districts. We want to appeal that peace should come, that there should be sense. You know, we have lived together, peacefully coexisted for such a long time. Suddenly something happens and then we seem to have forgotten our relationships, our being one together for such a long time. I think it is time that we should shun violence. We should give away violence. We ask also upon the government of Manipur and also the government of India to come in and take in stern steps. You know, many times this violence will go on so long as the truth does not come out. Many times some people would like to hide the truth and then, you know, propagate on something which are not really right. And I think I would appeal, especially even to the media brethren, also to, you know, reveal the truth. When some things are there, then confidence loses and then there is no trust. And this is one area which we have found in the past few weeks. So I would appeal really that our people should come back to senses, shun evil, shun
Right.
violence, and then get back together on our feet. Then we should talk. Once we talk, the government of India, government of Manipur should first instill confidence amongst the people. Once they know that the government of India is firm on its resolve for resolution, on its resolve for peace, I'm sure the people will come forward. So long as there is no trust, it is going to be a vain exercise.
Absolutely.
You know, militancy has been prevalent in the state for such a long time, but besides militancy, this time round, it has become a mob attack on each other. You know, such a magnitude, violence of such a magnitude has never been seen and experienced before. But I hope sense will come and peace will prevail. Manipur needs to grow. Manipur needs to show to the world, as it had shown until just a week before this violence set in, when the Miss India contest was done, and then it had really pictured Manipur in the very high limelight.
Yes.
Suddenly, when this came, it is a pain in the hearts of all of us. Yeah.
Dr. Loro, at the
So
same
that
time,
is
you
where we
also
are.
met with the Honorable Home Minister just a few weeks ago, and he is now beginning his tour of Manipur. How crucial do you think this visit will be, and what message are you expecting from the Home Minister once he begins his tour of Manipur?
See, I think I met him, I spoke with him on the second day when the violence actually started breaking out. And then when I spoke to him, yes, they were also busy, they were also studying the situation, taking stock of the whole situation, and we thought that the government would act quickly. But of course, I appreciate the Union Home Minister. He immediately sent the paramilitary forces. When the paramilitary forces, including the RAF, Rapid Action Forces, when they came into Manipur, we thought that a sense of peace or calm will prevail and that violence will be controlled. But unfortunately, the violence did not calm down. To some extent, the forces were maybe too little, and as in his own word, the Union Home Minister said that in the local police, the state forces, whoever belongs to a particular community becomes member of that community and not a state police. So on both sides, and I think that is a very, very sad thing, that we are, very communal. We're enclosed within our own isms, and which is why this issue has got blown over, and it is going to take a long, long time for peace to settle again. But I think the most important thing is the people should have the confidence that the government is doing something, and the government is out there to bring about peace, that they will not allow this type of violence or perpetration to be going on. They should be controlled. Those who have looted arms should be brought back, they should be booked. Those who have allowed it should be booked. And the militants who are there, they should be put in their own camps, or the government should decide what to do with them. And so that is something that is very crucial at this moment. With the coming of the Union Home Minister, though it is a little late, I think for the best reasons, he knows why he has come at this time. But it is still, there is time, and I hope that his coming in will bring about confidence. He will show the people that he's out to do something, that his heart and mind is also in Manipur, not away, stashed away somewhere else. But we, in the media, we would project on violence elsewhere, somewhere it is burning, and we would talk, but not talk about Manipur, which is a very sad thing. It is within our own home, within our own boundaries, that the state of Manipur is burning. Let us only hope that with the coming of the Union Home Minister, he will doubt the problem and then bring settlement, peace, once for all.
Dr. Loro, you said that this sort of violence has never been seen, and that this is turned into almost like a mob attack. It's mob mentality between two communities of Manipur. Why do you think this confidence breakdown has taken place between two communities who were living sort of peacefully for the past many decades?
See, one community would blame the other, as also the other community blame the same. So this blaming each other, blaming will not help. We need to really sit down and look at the reality. Yes, there has been stray incidences of certain violence in the past, but this being caused by militants or the threat that they have, caused to the people, and then which had become, something, put in a break to certain developmental activities, which has been very unfortunate. But this type of an attack, this time, I don't know how this took up. It has absolutely become an issue of land. An issue of land. Land is hard pressed, and which is why I think this has come. There has been the issue of the ST demand by the Meitei community. They have a right to demand. And there is no reason why someone else should oppose it. However, when that opposition was also done, it was a peaceful rally. So why should, there should be an attack on a peaceful rally? So that is the point. It has been peaceful until then. In democracy, we allow this type of protest, this type of voices to be raised. We must allow it. It is democracy. But we should not fight against each other's aspiration. Once a violence gets in, then it arouses the whole emotion of the whole communities, and it becomes very bad. So this is what has happened during this time. I'm so sorry, but I think our people, the people of Manipur, love peace, and we should get back to our knees, come back and across the table and talk, and then bring back peace.
Okay, Dr. Laura, before I let you go,
the
sir.
The government must do its role.
Absolutely. And as a society also, you pointed out that we also must do our role. But before we let you go, sir, do you think that this entire issue of the Meitei community asking for an ST status was actually used by insurgents to sort of fuel this fire in Manipur? That they were waiting for this sort of an episode to occur for the insurgents and some outside forces to actually fuel, like I said, this fire in Manipur?
Absolutely. There has been, a lot of distrust on each other. A lot of emotions have been building up over the years over various issues. And now suddenly when the court ruled that the Manipur government must give its ruling or give its recommendation on within about 4 weeks, I think that was what actually excited. So that is why the peace rally also was held. That is why the counter blockade also took place, and that is how the whole thing erupted. I know that there has been underlying for a long time with forest, with the use of reserve forest and the settlement of tribal people in some of these reserve forests, which the government or certain communities call it as illegal occupation. These are issues which are real, but we only hope that this can be resolved. The government only need to be wise in how to handle this, and then if there has been a resettlement program, the government should talk to the communities, and once proper talk is done, I think people are there only willing to listen. But I think somewhere down the line something has failed, and this is the sad part.
Absolutely. Dr. Laura, thank you so much for joining us on NewsX with your thoughts and perspective on what's happening in Manipur. Joining me on the broadcast is also Major General A.K. Sivach. I also have with me Major General Rajan Kochar and Professor Amar Yuman, former VC Professor of Manipur University. Let me begin with Professor Amar, if I may. Professor Amar, the Chief Minister said that 40 militants have been neutralized by the army, and we've also learned that there was an attempt by several insurgents, another plot that has now come out of these insurgents. And the same conversation that I was having with Dr. Laura, sir, what role do the forces now need to play as far as these insurgents are concerned? Because it seems as though several forces are utilizing this sort of a miscommunication between two communities to continue the violence and clashes in Manipur.
Well, let me be very clear to begin with. One of the biggest problems of Manipur, and for that matter the entire Northeast, the understanding of the issues has been approached from a single perspective. Every time something happens, we look at that problem only. What we are facing today in Manipur is a culmination of interplay of forces. So insurgency, we cannot just blame insurgency. Insurgency also cannot emerge without some vision. And what has happened recently is very, very unfortunate in the sense that, because besides answering your question, I want to clear certain things, to be very clear on certain things. Well, immediately before what had happened on May 3 and all those things, let us look at what was happening in the previous 3-4 months. There was a free play of words. Some mighty activists or groups were using words in a very loose and unwanted manner, and some cookie groups also were using languages which no group would enjoy. And then this thing happened. Now what those things come up is that, during those 3-4 months, where was the government?
Right.
The government is supposed to be conscious and aware and conscientious of what has been happening in the society anytime. See, Manipur, we cannot look at it only from Meiteis. Muslims are there, Nagas are there, and Kukis are there. And we must be able to evolve a certain kind of shared approach to issues. Well, let me concentrate now to Kukis. I have been in the university for I was in the university for more than 40 years in the teaching profession. The happiest thing during the last few years of my service was that Kuki students were coming up very fast. During the last 15-20 years, every year we were seeing that Kuki students were outshining the other students, were performing better than others. Well, some groups which we didn't expect much earlier are now doing wonderfully well. So that was the thing. The government should have been aware, and the Kuki leadership also should have been aware. The government for itself, let us be very clear, Kukis are unlike the Nagas. They have not been used to that kind of a long settlement in one place. Let us be very clear. That doesn't mean that they should not be given settlement. But the very fact that they have been rising over the years, that is the moment they started having their own aspiration. Well, it is for the Kuki leadership and it is for the government how to give support, facilitate, and give direction to the new aspirations of the Kukis. And that was absent. And that is where insurgents come in, that we are not given this thing. And in between, what has been happening is that thinking about development in Manipur, we cannot think about development, say, like in Andhra Pradesh or Telangana.
Yes.
We have necessarily to bring in the international dimension to the interventions we should be thinking about. We should accept the fact that our boys and girls have the opportunity to just go outside, get some military training, and become insurgents. And we didn't bother about it. And they can get in. So we didn't have any perspective of how to bring about border area development, number one. Number two, the region has coexistence of mountains and a valley. Till today, forget about what is happening till today, we have not thought of how to bring about a coherent development in an area where we have both mountains and a valley. India has not applied mind to that. India doesn't have mind for that. The question is, when we have to think about coexistence of Meiteis, Kukis, Nagas, and the Muslims, we necessarily had to think about how to correlate the different geographic areas. Forget about a community. We necessarily have to correlate the thinking process between the valley and the mountains. And that is where a shared approach would emerge. Once development would be shared with another, and the kind of peace which Manipur has been witnessed to so long would necessarily be prospered. But what has happened is that we don't have a strategy whereby development can happen simultaneously in both valley and the mountains. We have no strategy We don't have any kind of sheer articulation of development process. No, we don't have any kind of designing. Well, cookie boys and girls are
Okay.
doing wonderfully well in academics, how to give direction
All
and
right.
advice. We have no thinking over it. When we are not thinking of development of our people, of our land, and we are living everything, no, that such things are supposed to have come up.
Okay. All right.
Because
Yes.
since Meiteis are majority, cookies think that it's because of Meiteis we are not able to develop, and the Meiteis is looking for ST again. Well, because they have taken all the advantages of modern government jobs, things like that, we also should become ST. So people are allowed to articulate themselves along those lines because of the absence of governance and a policy.
Okay, all right. Major General Rajan Kochar and Major General A.K. Sivach, you've heard our voices from Manipur. So let me begin with Major General Kochar. What do you make of the situation going ahead, sir? What is it that you feel needs to be the priority then of the government at this point in time? Because a lot of the voices from Manipur do express displeasure mainly with the government. They say it's not really about the increase in insurgency. That's something that the army does a good job of taking care of, and that's going to be a problem that we'll have to find a long-term solution for. But in the short run, there seems to be a lot of displeasure with the way the government handles certain areas.
See, first let us look at the structure of the state. There are 60 constituencies in Manipur, and 40 of them are in the valley and 20 of them are in the hills. So predominantly any government which is going to be elected will have a predominance of the Methi people. So the first seeds of discrimination has already started because the cookies have apprehension that they are not being given their rightful share in Manipur. And the second aspect of the problem is the insurgency or the terrorists, because they are exploiting these divisions between these two communities, and China has been supporting across the border from Myanmar, and there has been drug smuggling also because poppy cultivation actually grows in the hills. The government tries to remove these people who are basically cookies from the reserved forest areas, so that also brings in resentment. So we first have to come to the root cause of the problem. We have to address the grievances of both the communities, and unfortunately the trigger has been the judgment of the Manipur High Court, in which the scheduled tribe status was recommended for the Metis, because right now the cookies were enjoying this privilege, and they feel that once Metis also get their opportunities will get reduced. So it is basically a structural problem of the state. It has to be handled very delicately. I have already heard the two speakers earlier. It is not a military problem. Article 355 of the Constitution has been imposed in Manipur right now to actually protect the people. The union government has moved in. The forces have actually moved in. So we have to address this, and I'm sure Home Minister Amit Shah ji is there. He will look at all these issues, talk to the senior leaders of both the communities, and arrive at some kind of an amicable solution. We can form a sort of a working group which can compromise of both the communities, and they can sit down and work out and try to iron out the differences, because the demand for a separate state or a union territory may not be acceptable at this point to the Union of India. So the best way out is we must have a communication going, because right now there is a breakdown in communication.
Yes.
Because of that, there is a problem. So the first step I would see, and I'm sure it would be happening, that the communication process has to start.
And Major General A.K. Sivach, quite interestingly, sir, as everybody pointed out, that there seems to be a communication breakdown between the government and the people, the locals. What is it that they want, what their aspirations are? Ultimately, if two communities that are living in a certain space, if they are having to fight over opportunities, then that clearly shows you that people want more and more opportunities. They want more development. They want the prospects of better education, better job, better healthcare. And these are all rights that all of us as Indians have access to thanks to our constitution. But at the same time, sir, what the government perhaps also needs to look at is the fact that these sort of communal clashes are then used by outside forces to launch civil unrest, as we've seen in Manipur. There can be insurgents who are not only trained physically in terms of arms and ammunition, but there is also a lot of soft terror training that takes place today, wherein you send in people to spark these sort of riots. So like I said, it may not necessarily be that they're training people with guns and bombs, but there is also soft terrorism that takes place.
Absolutely correct, Devika. I have heard my co-panelists. It's a very complex problem. It is a problem which is been given to Manipur for a long time. Now it is also entrenched with the terrorism and militancy. You see, it has a roots from China also. So now this militancy was by and large curbed after a long time, wherein one knows that the ammunition, weapons were all coming from China, and also drugs were coming from China and Myanmar through this route. Now what has happened is this gap which has come and distress which has come from the main Metis community and Kuki and Nagas, coupled with whatever is the problem otherwise of terrorism, this has taken a different shape altogether. So now the point is that it may have a political solution, but today we have to first bring the situation under control. Today the terrorism is also spreading. Now what is happening, 40 terrorists are killed. No, they may not be total terrorists, but they are militant. They have already looted two armory, one of Manipur battalion, 7th Manipur rifle, and another of a reserve battalion. No, so many weapons have now gone in the hands of the militant group. You can imagine the chaos and confusion which will take place, and they are now targeting the other community. Now point is, now the communities which were against the terrorism have a soft corner for terrorists which are looking after their interests. Now the Kuki militants will have a soft corner by the Kuki population. So this made the situation more complex. I understand all communities, whether it is Metis, Kuki or Naga, they have their viewpoint, and there has to be an amicable solution by all taken together, and the distress has to be removed. But at the same time, the militants should not make use of this situation, and China will be too happy to make sure that the terrorism again come in Manipur. So we have to be very careful. Now the Home Minister has gone there, the Chief of Army Staff has also gone there. You must be able to find a situation. First and foremost is try to bring the situation under control. There is no scope of using violence by any militant group. Be very strict. Bring the situation under control. A political solution will flow thereafter. As of today, I don't think it's a political problem. First, it is a militancy. It is a militant problem which started off because they made use of this distrust which is there between two communities. First, bring the violence under control, and then let all these communities sit down together. Let some amicable solution bring out. Whether it is Metis, whether it is Kuki, Naga, all these communities have their viewpoint, and they are right in their way. But then we can sit down together and bring an amicable solution. Absolutely. My point is, the central government must be very sensitive. This is the border state. This is the state which has border with Myanmar and also the routes going toward China.
Absolutely. So and we'll try to continue having this conversation. I apologize to our guests. We've completely run out of time, but as everybody pointed out, this is a very complex issue, and of course the solution will not come out now, but through conversation it seems we may reach a place that is okay for all communities involved.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.